You know that feeling, right? You're just scrolling and scrolling through an endless feed of bad news, and you can literally feel the anxiety building up inside you. Well, what if the cure for this very modern problem wasn't some new app, but a philosophy that's over 2,000 years old? Let's dive in and see how some ancient wisdom can help us get our peace back. Just picture it. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You know you should be asleep, but there you are, phone in hand, the screen glowing in the dark. You're just watching the world burn in real time. Every single swipe is another little jolt of anxiety. And you tell yourself, oh, I'm just staying informed. But let's be honest, you're not informed, you're trapped. And that's really what this is. It's a trap. We're all carrying the weight of the entire world around in our pockets, and these feeds, well, they're basically designed to trigger our deepest fears. It leaves us feeling like we're drowning in this giant sea of information. And when you look at the numbers, it is just wild. The average person checks their phone almost 100 times a day, 100. And a staggering 71% of us say we feel anxious because of the news. And now studies are starting to link this exact behavior directly to serious issues like depression and even PTSD. This isn't just some quirky bad habit anymore, it's becoming a real public health issue. But here's the cruel irony, the real paradox of it all. Why do we even do it? Well, deep down, we're scrolling because we are desperately looking for a sense of control. We think if we just read one more article, we'll finally understand, we'll be prepared. But instead, all we do is end up fixated on all the things that are completely, totally outside of our power. So, how do we break the cycle? Well, believe it or not, the answer might come from antiquity, from a philosophy that was literally forged in the middle of chaos. Let's talk about the Stoics. And hey, if you think our world is chaotic, you should see theirs. I'm talking about political assassinations, non-stop civil wars, a plague that killed 5 million people, and constant barbarian invasions. They didn't have smartphones, but man, they faced direct, unfiltered chaos every single day. And out of all that turmoil, they developed this incredibly powerful mental framework. You can think of it like the ultimate firewall for your mind. It's built on 2 core practices. The first is called the dichotomy of control, basically knowing what's in your power and what's not. The second is a powerful technique called premeditatio malorum. It's a mouthful, I know, but it's a game changer. All right, let's start with that first one. This is all about understanding where you should focus your energy and why, frankly, most of the anxiety we feel today is just completely wasted effort. So this is the absolute core of Stoicism. They basically divide the world into 2 columns. In one column, you have everything you can control. Your opinions, your judgments, your actions, where you put your focus. And in the other column, you have everything you can't. Global events, what other people do, the past, the future. Doomscrolling is basically choosing to live your entire life in that right-hand column. The philosopher Epictetus just nailed this. He said, some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. Worrying about the stuff that isn't our own doing isn't just pointless, it's actually harmful. It steals all your energy away from the things that truly are up to you. Okay, so let's make this practical. You see a catastrophic headline. The typical response is, this is terrible, we're doomed, and then you fall down a rabbit hole for 3 hours. The Stoic response? It's to pause and to acknowledge, okay, this event is not up to me. And then to ask the most important question, what is up to me? And the answer is always your judgment and your next small positive action. Now, for that second practice, this one is a little more counterintuitive, I'll admit. But it's all about building a kind of shock absorber for your soul so that when bad things do happen, you're actually ready for them. Right, so it's called premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. Now I know, that sounds super pessimistic, right? But it's not about just expecting the worst all the time. It's about calmly and deliberately rehearsing those worst-case scenarios in your mind. The whole point is to strip away their power to shock you and send you into a panic. And the process is actually pretty simple. First, you acknowledge the worst possible outcome head-on. You just look right at it. Second, you think through its actual impact and realize, you know what, I'd probably survive. And third, by doing this, you dramatically reduce the shock if anything like it ever happens, because you've already prepared your mind for it. The Stoic philosopher Seneca just put this so perfectly. He said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And that's what this practice is all about. It's about taming that wild imagination, grounding it, and stopping it from spiraling into useless anxiety. Okay, so that's the theory, but how do we actually put this stuff into practice? How do you build that mental firewall right now? Well, let's break it down into a really simple 3-step plan you can start today. So here it is. Step 1 is the boundary rule. You have to consciously limit how much news you consume. Step 2 is the so what exercise, where you actually practice premeditating these outcomes. And step 3 is the action shift. You replace that passive consumption with positive, virtuous action. So let's look at how this so what exercise actually works. Okay, let's say your big fear is the economy is going to collapse. The reality check is to remind yourself, okay, but I still control my skills, my work ethic, and my ability to adapt. So what's the action? Maybe it's update my resume or save an extra $50 this week. See how that flips the script? It transforms that passive anxiety into active preparation. And what's so cool is that this isn't just ancient wisdom. Modern psychology totally backs this up. The dichotomy of control, that trains what psychologists call your internal locus of control, the belief that you are in charge of your life. The so what exercise, that's basically a form of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which is all about reframing negative thoughts. And premeditatio malorum, researchers now call that negative visualization, and it's a proven way to build psychological resilience. And if you need any proof that this stuff works under the most extreme pressure imaginable, just look at Marcus Aurelius. Here was a guy who was arguably the most powerful man in the entire world, and yet he had to rule through a devastating plague, constant war, and even betrayal from his closest allies. And in his personal journal, he wrote this absolutely incredible line: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about that. He couldn't stop the plague, he couldn't stop the wars, but he could control his response. He could control his commitment to doing the right thing, and that's exactly what he did. So this is the transformation that's on offer here. It's about moving from that state of constant anxiety, feeling helpless and overwhelmed and just exhausted, and moving to a state of being tranquil, empowered, purposeful, and focused. The world outside might not change, but your inner world absolutely can. Because at the end of the day, the world is always going to be chaotic. There will always be bad news. So the only real choice you have, the only one, is where you decide to focus your energy. Are you going to give it away to that endless stream of things you can't control? Or are you going to invest it in the one thing you truly own, your response?